Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how I did both of these full wrap tumblers different ways and how to blend it so you can't see that there's a seam. For this first one, we're starting off with a 20-ounce handled tumbler from the tumbler supply store, and then I got this image on Etsy. I will link the shop down in the description box, and I printed it on this sticker paper, glossy sticker paper that I got from Amazon. And here is one trick. I spray painted the tumbler black, and the edges of this are black. When you print it and cut it, take a Sharpie and just go along the edges of the printed image. This helps because when you peel it off, the edges are still white, so this helps it tremendously blend into the black background. And I've done it for years, and you would be surprised how even though the background of your printed image is black, those edges really show up if you don't do this step. And you'll notice when I cut this out, I didn't just do a complete square. I kind of rounded the edges because it's just going to all blend into the background anyway, so I didn't have to have it be a complete equal square. So then I just sized it on the tumbler to decide exactly how high and low I wanted it, and then I trimmed a little off of the background, and we're just going to apply it just like a tumbler wrap and kind of like the hinge method. Don't put tape on this though, because you don't want to chance it peeling off any of that printed image. You can use printable vinyl for this, or you can use sticker paper, or whatever you have on hand works perfectly. I love the Hobby Lobby printable vinyl, but sometimes when I really want my image to pop and be sharp, I use this glossy printable sticker paper. Once I get that all applied, I make sure it's nice and straight, and then I'm going to take it outside and take my black spray paint, and just along the edges of where it's already black and a little bit into that printed image, you can see here, you just want to mist that black spray paint. I just used regular black flat spray paint. You can see right here is just, I barely went into the printed image, and same with around the edges. It's just part of, right now you can see it, but it's just part of blending or building the blend, because once we get the epoxy on it and some of the other images, you won't be able to tell that there's even a seam there whatsoever. Once that spray paint is dry, it's going to get a coat of epoxy, and then we are going to move into the vinyl additions. This I felt like was really going to help build this seamless image, because it's bringing some of the elements from the printed design out into like almost a 3D look. I just found some trees that were similar to the design in the image, and I cut them in all different sizes out of black vinyl, and I'm just applying them randomly on the edges of the design, so it just blends in and it looks like you're standing close up to those trees and the design is further away. And when you're placing the trees, it's okay to overlap them, because even though the vinyl is overlapping with black vinyl, it all just magically blends in and smooths out together once you apply the epoxy. And then after we have all these trees applied, we are going to be doing one more round of spray paint on the bottom to just blend all of the bottom black trees together. Once I have all the trees applied where I want them, I'm going to take it back outside, and just on the bottom part, I'm going to spray it once again right on that seam line with the flat black spray paint. This will just blend it all in together with those trees. Once that was completely dry, I cut a decal with an offset just to add a little something extra. I thought this quote was really perfect, so I cut it in gold and then cut a offset in black. It's not a bright gold, it's more of like a flat matte gold. I just got it from Hobby Lobby and I love the vinyl. It's so easy to work with. But I put that all together and then I just applied that right to the tumbler. Once I got that decal applied, I gave this another 2 final coats of epoxy, and this one was complete. And I'm telling you, once you have the epoxy on it, you cannot see those seams at all. Using that spray paint mixed into the black outline look of the printed image, it really just fades it all together between the layers of epoxy. For the second tumbler, I printed this image on waterslide paper and I sealed it 3 times with a good heavier hand with Rust-Oleum's clear spray paint. I really recommend 3 to 4 heavier handed coats of the clear spray paint because you'll see here at the end how it really helps it stay together and not tear when applying this water slide. So after those are completely dry, I take a Tupperware of water and submerge the entire water slide and I set it aside to soak for a little bit. Once it's almost time to apply my water slide, I take my prepped tumbler, which is just a spray painted white tumbler with 1 coat of epoxy. You always want to apply a water slide to a glossy surface. So it just has a thin coat of epoxy, and then once that water slide is ready, you'll know because it starts to gently move off the backing and then it's ready. So I just line it up, and this is how I do water slides. Everybody does it differently, but I like to peel off my entire backing and then work with the water slide. I don't do a lot of full wraps. It's much easier when it's a small little image, but I just lined it up where I wanted it and then I peeled off the entire backing. And then as you can see, it's almost like clear paper because we put so many of those coats of the clear spray paint on there to seal it. So it really built up that thickness and makes it a little bit easier to work with in something like this. And when working with water slides, just go really slow. Make sure that there's something soft on there. I like to put it right back down on the backing so it doesn't scratch. And then I just slowly kind of wrap it around while pushing my finger to help wrinkle free the image while it's laying down. You are going to have a few little water bubbles, but you can get those to go away. So here at the end, I'm not really stretching, but I'm kind of pushing together the 2 ends so that it will completely close up this seam. And I just go a little at a time, and then I scrape out the water bubbles with this, I don't remember what this thing is called, but I get it from the dollar store. It's like a silicone makeup brush, and that really helps squeegee out the extra water under this image. And then I do it right on the seam, and then I push together the seam again because it's just closing that gap as it dries, so you're not seeing much of that white seam underneath the image. Everybody uses different tumblers, and so your size for printing the image will be different, especially with a coat of epoxy on there. So just make sure you measure a few times for when you print. Mine was 9.312 inches for the diameter of the image. Again, the same as the last tumbler, we are going to use spray paint to really blend in this design to the background. And then what I do is I just take a paper towel and I pat it dry and roll it up to help dry it, but I do not run the paper towel across the image because you don't want to chance ripping it or pulling on that waterslide paper and making it crack. I also wanted to mention, if you hear water running in the background of this voiceover, it's our fish tank in this room that I am doing my voiceover in, and I am not sure if you can hear it or not, so I just wanted to make you aware that that's what that is. Anyways, after we let that water slide dry on the cup, I usually let it sit overnight. I apply another coat of epoxy, and then we are going to do something very similar as the last one. I cut out trees, but this time I did them out of this dark gray charcoal vinyl, which I highly do not recommend. It's Cricut brand, and I found it in my vinyl drawer and I thought, oh, that's the perfect color. But I remember now why it's been sitting in this drawer forever, because I hate it. It's so thick, it doesn't cut very good. It's just, it was the perfect color, but don't work with it if you have to. I applied those trees in random spots, and then I did the same thing with black vinyl trees, and I'm just placing them all around the image and leaving them to not cover all of the image. And some of the trees on the design were in the front, so I didn't want to cover all of those. Oh, and even though the seam is pretty straight and closed, I did cut a big tree to help cover it, just in case you don't happen to get your image to line up perfectly, then you can always cover it up with a very large tree. Once I had all of those trees applied, and again, don't worry about covering up all of the bottom, we're going to fix that. I trimmed off anything that was hanging over the bottom and anything that was right up against the edge, because I didn't want to chance it creasing down there at the bottom. And I just peeled off that extra, and then we're going to take it outside and take black spray paint again and just mist it over the bottom. So you're going to cover up all of that white spots. And into the trees, you really want this one to be a little bit higher into those trees. And then at the top, we're going to take white spray paint and just mist it right around the top of that edge so that it blends a white into the top of the design, so it more looks like clouds and you don't have that line across the blue of the design. So right here you can see it just misted it. It looks like clouds, it looks like mist, it looks like fog. And then once that is dry, it gets 2 more coats of epoxy, and this one is completely done, which no decal on this one since it was already included in the image. You can really see how using that spray paint, just really light-handed, misting it on those edges, it really blends it into the background and you cannot see those seams whatsoever. I hope that you have enjoyed today's video, and I hope that I have inspired you in some way. And if I have, I would love for you to give me a follow, a like, a share, and subscribe so that you see all of my upcoming videos. I release a new video every Saturday and sometimes a bonus on Wednesdays, and we have 1 video left in our Dad Inspired series, so I can't wait to see you back next week. Bye, y'all.